On today's episode, we're going to be talking to you guys about NXT. And man, NXT started off great as hell, bro. They started off with Jeff McDonough versus Julius Creed, bro. It was a great way to start off NXT, and it was just a crucial, hard hitting technical battle between the two. And this was also a great win for Julius Creed because it was fresh off of injury, so he kind of proved a lot of doubters wrong in this match. Also, it was really cool to see his technical side in this shit too. Like he reminds me of like the second coming of Kurt Angle. I really can't wait to see what he does when him and his brother make it up to the main roster. But what'd you think about the overall match that they had?
Honestly, bro, I love the fact that how you touch bases, say like you can see the highlights of the potential they have of being like quote unquote like a Kurt Angle, because Kurt's my favorite wrestler. I love seeing that technical side of a wrestler because the glitz and glam is here now, but it dwindles away.
Yeah.
At a certain point in time, a certain age bracket is looking to see that technical side. Can you chain wrestle? Can you tell a story without speaking? Can you?
Well, with that being said, would you say that you favor more the pro wrestling side or the sports entertainer side?
Honestly, bro, it all depends. Like your character has to suit what you're trying to go for, 100%. So, for example, Daniel Bryan, he proved in WWE when he was Daniel Bryan, he proved he could do both. Even when the authority or so and so was like, "That's not best for business," he proved what was. He proved that his way of wrestling could get people over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
And then not only that, you have to just look into the facts of how WWE wrestling is. Someone like The Rock, he can never be a pro wrestler, quote unquote,
Yeah.
because bro, you're too
This
entertaining.
version of The Rock
If
can.
this version of The Rock
Because
could,
he's actually jacked
yeah,
and
he's
shit.
jacked and shit. But the other version of The Rock was a sports entertainer.
Yeah.
He was hilarious. Every time you're not looking forward to seeing The Rock's match, you're just looking forward to seeing him on the screen with a microphone in hand, with a camera, and someone he can demean or kick to the side and take that microphone from to highlight why he doesn't need you to hold that microphone and ask him questions, because he can speak so well that there doesn't need to be a mediator there, whether it's someone asking questions or just, you know what I'm saying. So it
Yeah.
depends, bro. But honestly, for the sake of it, because I do love professional wrestling, because that's what it is. I'll always go with the pro wrestler first, because like you obviously have to take or be very well or excel at pro wrestling to make it to be a sports entertainer. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So it doesn't one hand wash the other, both wash the face. They need to stop going at each other so hard, because you both highlight why we need both of you.
Yeah.
My overall review for this match would be a strong 7, because the chain wrestling and overall the highlights of stuff that I saw that was very Kurt-esque, I was hyped on. And that's got me through the match, and like it didn't even feel like it was that long. I was like,
Yeah.
I wanted to see more of him. It's like, all right, are you really like that? Would Kurt be
Bro,
proud?
and his brother is just like him. Like they wrestle both just like Kurt, and I think they wrestle damn near even a little better than Kurt. I feel
Like
like they have,
smoother?
yeah, way smoother, and I feel like their ceiling is higher. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Kurt had a trouble pass. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like Kurt, the Kurt that we got wasn't even his apex. And I feel like when he got to TNA more, we got to see that Triple H type of 2005, 2006, that evil. I won't even say earlier to 2003 to 2006. That Triple H that we didn't. We got to see a different side of Kurt that's can almost very be comparable, because Kurt was able to be show that heel side. But the match itself, like I really want to see where they go though. Do you think they're gonna stay together or they're gonna split up? Because they both wrestle like Kurt, so you think they're gonna make him be like, who's really the Kurt?
Nah, I feel like they're gonna keep them together as long as possible, especially when they move them up to the main rosters. But if they ever do decide to go on a singles career route, they both will excel tremendously, and no matter what they do. Julius, for sure, he just has the perfect wrestling build. You know what I'm saying? With the athleticism to match. So I feel like he has a tad bit higher ceiling than his brother, like because he just looks a little bit more marketable. Honestly, you could see him on cereal boxes and shit compared to his brother's butterface. Is basically what I'm saying. Just keeping it a
Like
hundred.
Otis.
Yeah,
Otis is not marketable. That's why they took. That's why Otis is a prime example of what happens when you have too much clout outside the ring and not enough inside the ring.
Right.
Because I'm just using him as example because if you're using to refer to him as the other Creed brother, that is Otis is a Money in the Bank winner, and you don't know that, and they don't even mention that because they don't want to take away from his character right now because he made it past possibly being buried, and they don't want to like let you know that he was the former Money in the Bank because you're gonna be like, so is he a former heavyweight champion? And then you're gonna start putting the numbers together like, oh,
Yeah.
so he's a fuck up.
Yeah.
So just like,
That shit was foul, bro. They put him in a match to lose it, right?
yeah, bro, they put and it was him and it was the time Mandy Rose was liking him.
Yeah, I remember that. They did not want him to hold that WWE championship.
At all, bro.
It would have been hard to take it off him. Him winning the WWE championship would have been almost just as crazy as when Mick Foley beat The Rock for the WWE championship. Like I feel like he would have got the same type of reaction. Like people would have went nuts for him. Like you know what I'm saying
Yeah,
at
because
that time because he was getting so much pull, especially with Mandy.
100%, and I think WWE really missed out on an opportunity. But I was also speaking of Mandy Rose. I just want to touch on this real quick since we're talking about NXT. Why are you guys trying so hard to write her out of this storyline of like NXT and she had a 413-day championship reign? So you do realize that means either this person who currently holds the belt, who I do not believe is believable to hold it longer than 14 and 13 days, and keep in mind Mandy Rose came into developmental very shaky in the ring. Do you see this person? I'm asking you. Do you see this person being able to hold it that long, believably?
Nah, I see her not getting no more than
30 more
the
days.
the same amount of time as Liv Morgan got. I feel like that's what Roxanne's gonna get.
2 months, 3 months, and it's gonna be over. And I'm
Hmm.
just not a fan of that. Like, why are you guys doing that? First off, if you guys are gonna, you guys should talk about it. Don't acknowledge it. Don't make it seem weird like she didn't exist for 413 days after
Yeah,
you just highlighted it. You guys had her break a record, had her
yeah.
unified championships. Like, that's, I hate when WWE does that. And she worked too
Um,
hard for that, honestly.
she really did. But you know what's good about that overall is Mandy Rose will always have a job because of her going back to NXT and remodeling her career. Like that really did a lot for her, and now a lot of doors have opened since she's left WWE. So I'm happy that she's not just asked out having to depend on fucking nudes and feet pictures. You know what I'm saying? Like she can still walk in anybody's wrestling program and wrestle. So shout out Mandy Rose.
That's dope.
The next match on NXT Bros was Wendy Choo versus Cora Jade. And she picked up a real tough victory over her because both of them just got a lot of fight in them, but you could tell Wendy came out just more determined, you know what I'm saying? And I gotta add like how every week I'm starting to see her progress more and more and more. But I feel like what's keeping her from gold is her gimmick. You know what I'm saying? She come out with the pillow and slumber party and all that bullshit. I feel like that's holding her back from being taken seriously. So
So,
obviously, if you're not taken seriously, they don't give you belts for real. So I'm
I,
asking you, what do you think about her gimmick and how far do you see her going? Really?
her gimmick is very reminiscent of the hugger, which was Bailey. And when Bailey had that gimmick, that gimmick was a little less corny in a sense, but still very much corny, but not as corny as walking around with snap time and all that shit. Because
Yeah,
Bailey didn't have no accessories. All she had to do was this, and people knew it's like hug. She's just about hugging and shit. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
And it's like, but at the same time, I don't like that she's doing this because just look at Bailey's career. Bailey was able to get away with more because, like I said, her gimmick is less corny than yours. So it's more tolerable. But how am I supposed to believe this girl that always wants to fucking nap is trying to be a champion and she's coming in here to nap? And then you gotta look at Bailey as
right.
like her gimmick actually helped her because it's showing that she doesn't tolerate bullying because she's a hugger but
Yeah.
don't push her.
That also got her a good push with the crowd, and that's what led her to her first women's title.
Yeah, but that's like more interactive. I feel like with the crowds, like
Mm.
that spreads more like actual like feeling, more like love in a sense. Because
No, it
this
is
the
for sure.
snap, like what is that?
That's what I'm saying, bro. I just don't really see her just going far with that, but she's like a really good wrestler. That's the unfortunate part about it. So hopefully she's able to change her gimmick up a little bit to where she can be taken more seriously and it'll start opening up more doors to more championship matches for her.
For sure, I completely agree with you, bro. We're about pushing for these championships as these superstars should be.
Yeah. So a surprise appearance slash match by Reggie being repackaged as this new wrestler named Scrypts versus Minjiro. He got a real impressive victory over Jiro, who has a strong style background. I just think it's funny, like, because his new wrestling attire kind of makes him look like a black luchador, you know what I'm saying? But he's still got, like, that poor build, and he's, like, kind of awkward, but, like, still really
Like it
athletic.
has that aerial assault. It catches you off guard at first because if you're not aware to him prior to being on the main roster, chasing the 24/7 title, you would be like, what the fuck? How's he flying around like that? But you would see Reggie be flying everywhere. He'd be
Yeah.
jumping over, doing parkour on the backstage, the crates and whatnot.
Yeah, he
So
looks like he gained a lot of weight
yeah,
too. I ain't gonna cap.
yeah, because he looked like he was off, but he always looked like a bit out of shape, though. I'm not gonna lie. So, but anyway, he has a very impressive move set. Well, how I will say, I don't know how I feel about his finisher. Like, if I'm that opponent, I am trying to make you show you got an arsenal, and I'm not letting you hit that shit on me. I'm like, nah, dog. You know, there's no way. That's a dilly slap. There's
Hey,
no,
nothing's worse than Viscera's finisher.
bro. That's that he was doing the hiding right.
Hey, real real fans know about Viscera's finisher.
Bro, he was doing
That
the
nigga was
hiding
wild.
right. He was doing the hiding right with the full angle on the cam, so you know what he's doing.
Up next on NXT, we have Bron Breakker waiting on the arrival of Greyson Waller, who I gotta mention did not show up, which made this shit even funnier because that made Bron Breakker destroy the entire locker room. And Braun just wants to get his hands on Greyson Waller because he got embarrassed last week when he speared Greyson Waller and ended up knocking himself out because Grayson Waller was wearing some bulletproof vest underneath his shirt or whatever that had extra metal in it, so it obviously knocked Bron Breakker out. So instead of showing up on NXT, he left a video for Bron Breakker, basically touring this city and bragging about how he's coming up in life and shit, and then how he's gonna be showing up next week for their contract signing. Their next match will take place at NXT New Year's Eve, and it will be for the NXT World Heavyweight Championship. What do you think about that, bro? Who do you think is gonna win that match?
Honestly, I don't know. I really don't know. I feel like it could go either way because I feel like Braun could hold on to it because he's still dominant. I guess you could still look at him like that, like he's the king of the NXT locker room. But at the same time, Grayson Waller is coming up, and he's coming up fast, and
Yeah,
he's making all the right moves. He's really entertaining, kind of carrying this feud because he's the
yeah,
one that provided not being there and made it interesting because he swore he's about to get his Braun swore he's going to get his get back and put his hands on him, but he's just frustrated, so he got to beat up locker rooms and do all that extra shit.
yeah. It
So
shows that he's in his head. You know what I'm
exactly. He
saying?
just like you said earlier. So I think honestly, it's not gonna be too easy for us to tell. But I'm also leaning towards maybe Grayson Waller might win. Maybe this time for Braun to lose that title, head up to the main roster, top of the next year. You know what I'm saying? I think that could be the most realistic outcome for Braun because I'm kind of getting bored of him on NXT.
Yeah, like I said in a recent podcast, I feel like it's Braun's best bet to stay on NXT as long as he possibly can because he just might get hold on the main roster. But I feel like if there's anyone on NXT that's going to beat him for that championship, is going to be Grayson Waller. Because, like you said, he's making all the right moves, and he just seems like he's always one step ahead of Bron Breakker. And you can tell he's in his head, like he's destroying locker rooms over this boy. And Grayson Waller ain't even really do nothing to him, but just say some words. You know what I'm saying? So
And defend himself because you spared him.
exactly. With that being said, I definitely think Grayson Waller is gonna come out with that championship, bro, and I can't wait to see it. Question for you though, bro: what do you think about The Rock's daughter and her new group?
Honestly, I think it's kind of weird. I don't like it, and I feel it's more of like a step down for her, especially you're like a third generation or fourth generation actually superstar. So like,
So many of them,
so I'm like, why aren't you more standoutish? Why are you in this group that's like a diet version of Sanity?
and it's full of dudes,
Yeah, and it's just like you don't you don't have nothing in common. I see with any of these dudes, they're all weird. Unless you're trying to tell me you're weird.
and they're all white.
And yeah, they were white. Like I was like, this is all like it's all concerning. Like the Nation of Don, it's like the complete opposite of what your dad did. And if you're trying to go down the group path, I feel like this should not have been. If it'd been better if you were in an all girl group, make an impact in the women's
Yeah,
division or women's wrestling.
that
But
would
I'm
have
saying
been cooler to see
that
than
would have been
this.
cool. And this is just off putting. Like I don't know if these guys have some history training you or something. I'm not too well informed on them or with your relationship with them. But if it's creative putting you guys together, that's not it. Like the Rock's daughter should not be amongst this. I feel like you got to highlight the fact that she is the Rock's daughter in a sense because you can't really escape that because you see what's going on with the bloodline. They embrace it. I feel like they've never had like somebody at that level, and that's why I feel like Roman is really the tribal chief because no one embraced the family like he has. He put it on. He's put it out there. He's explained to you what a bloodline is, and this is something that you only know if you've really been around Samoans or exposed to them. But like, this is really how they are and like how they take it serious. And I know that The Rock is half Samoan and half black, but he doesn't really ever really express stuff like how Roman does about being the head of the table, calling himself the tribal chief. So, with that being said, I don't think that they're highlighting her in the proper facets because all her family has shown what it is to be a part of something so special, and this is not anything in that caliber.
I don't want to see her running around here with these random white dudes just wearing masks and talking shit, and she's not having no real impact in the women's division. You know what I'm saying? So I just can't wait to finally see her wrestle, so that way I can make my full judgment about her. But I hope that she's purely original with her wrestling moves. But if she does do the rock bottom, then I hope it's like her version of it. Because you know, like how Solo does it when he's spinning, like maybe she can do it on a certain object or only at a certain time, or I don't know. Like, you know, I would like to see that involved in her repertoire. But, you know, other than that, I like to see her mostly keep that shit original.
The next segment on NXT was the Drew Gulak Invitational, and it was I want to say like a 3 out of 5 entertaining, just because it's like he's rolling around making all these niggas tap out, and he got his little underling that's 10 times the size fucking watching, and he looks like he is not taking in shit. Besides that, damn, my master can whoop some ass. Like he like you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
he's not he not
He
looking
swear he's teaching him
like something.
something.
But I don't. I swear he's not intaking anything. He's just like, damn, I'm glad I'm on his side. I more look forward to Drew Gulak in the ring. I don't really want to see him in these funny segments because I don't think he's that entertaining, like as a sports entertainer. I more look forward to see him be a pro wrestler. So I need to get more of that out of him, and I feel like this is beneath him. Like Daniel Bryan never participated in any of that stuff, and show me why he believed in you and had you in his segments when he was on the screen.
I feel you on that, bro, 100%, and I agree with it too. But at the same time, I'm just happy that Drew Gulak isn't on the same shit that he was on the main roster. You know, we're actually seeing him kind of getting back in ring. And even though it was against some scrubs, we got to see Drew Gulak actually wrestle for the first time in a long time. And let's not forget what he was going through on the main roster when Ronda Rousey was trying to tear his arm off his socket. You know what I'm
Yeah, I'm
saying?
not. See, look, I don't want him to act like Drew on the main roster, but I just want him to act like the wrestler that Daniel Bryan sees, and he's not displaying what WWE shows to us. So it's kind of weird. So I'm like, why are you doing? Why did you go through all that? You gotta take some shit serious. You can't let them put you in these little angles like with this Sasquatch over you that doesn't have a character really. To me, he looked like an average old Joe from fucking like a desk job, and he's just like, oh, they're like, we need you to
Yeah, that's
step.
his wrestling attire. I don't even think he has wrestling attire yet. That's his wrestling
Bro, I'm
attire,
telling you, like
just
that's
normal
like
street clothes.
that's some of the shit. That's why NXT is like a turn off to people because it's like, what the fuck? Some of these people have literally have no gimmick, and they're literally just like, hey, I'm a person. Fuck with me. No. That's not what professional wrestling is at all, whether you want to be a sports entertainer or not. And for the main event of NXT, it was Tony D'Angelo versus Wes Lee for the North American Championship. I don't really know how to feel about Tony D'Angelo, but Wes Lee has a high ceiling because I see that he has the capability to fly around the ring, and he has a lot of offensive moves that are unorthodox, as they could say. But I feel Tony D'Angelo did a good job working on his knees, so that way we can see a lot of that in this match. Wesley showed his ability to come back and persevere through this match because if it wasn't for that, he would have lost. But he was able to retain his championship, and from what I've seen, he has a higher ceiling than a lot of people in the NXT locker room. So I look for big things to come from him. What do you think?
Yeah, man, I honestly really enjoyed this match. It was a great showing from both wrestlers. Um, Even though Tony D'Angelo lost this match, bro, I'm still hyped that he lost all that weight and he came back with a more serious character. And not only that, he's jacked up now. So, like, it's more believable when he wins matches, you know what I'm saying? And you
Mm-hmm.
could tell that he's just a little bit more agile and nicer in the ring, you know what I'm saying? So it looks good on him, and I can see this leading him to multiple championships, not just the North American Championship. How far do you see Tony D'Angelo going with his character and the way his rebuild is looking?
I don't really think he'll go that far because honestly, how far can he go with being like a tough guy type of FBI? If you guys are familiar with the earlier WWE and the Ruthless Aggression area, in 2003 on SmackDown, there was a group called the Full Blooded Italians. It was ran by Nunzio, and he had Chuck Palumbo and Johnny the Bull Stamboli as his stable mates, and that shit was funny enough in itself because it didn't even mean what FBI, Federal Bureau of Investigation. But I don't think that Tony D'Angelo is going to be able to even be as funny as that because they were hilarious. So I don't see how far he can go with this.
I don't necessarily think the gimmick is what's going to take him far. I think the wrestling is what's going to take him far. You know what I'm saying? Because, like I said, his move set is nice. You know what I'm saying? And now that he actually has the build to fit, plus the attitude, that's the type of shit that WWE markets all the time. You know what I'm saying? So I could see him going far. What'd you think about NXT entirely as a show this week?
NXT was a solid four because a lot of the stuff I seen was just a lot of wavering. It was very underwhelming. I didn't really feel too much watching this or have any excitement at all when I watched this program. And that's a bad thing, especially in the middle of the week. I don't have nothing I'm looking forward to more than watching some good wrestling. And we look forward for some good wrestling out of NXT because it's not like the main roster bullshit. It's supposed to be its own thing, and you look for it being in its own entity, not like it's a developmental brand, but it was like it really felt like a developmental brand tonight. You know what I mean?
Yeah, bro, I really want NXT to get away from that because they've just been through so much as a company and came so far to just be labeled as a developmental brand. You know what I'm saying? I would say this
Absolutely.
show, I would give it a solid 6. It had some decent matches overall. It was boring some parts, but I understand, just like AEW this past week, they're just trying to, get to their next main thing, which is going to be New Year's Evil. And I'm looking forward to the Grayson Waller versus Bron Breakker match overall because I know Grayson Waller is going to win that title.
I look forward to seeing who will win that match. I don't really know how it's gonna go because I feel like Bron Breakker might retain, or they could put a new face of NXT in the hands of Grayson Waller. And that's been an overall review of NXT.
And this has been another episode of Wrestling with Exotics. It's your boy, the franchise kid, franchise Jerry.
Just think I need a Fiji water.
And make sure you guys like, comment, and subscribe. And share
Share
this
this
shit
shit
with
with
the
the
world.
world.
Appreciate y'all.
Peace.
Peace.